Hello, everybody. Welcome to the LEA presentation regarding first steps in the USA, first steps to take in exporting to the USA and Canadian markets. I'm Marain Sipos. I'm one of two LEA representatives here in the United States. I'd like to introduce the rest of our panelists. My colleague in Canada is Ilse Lachgalve. She's based in the Toronto metropolitan area. We also have a Latvian exporter, Uģis Svīks from Softlight Product Group Manager, Igloo, and also I would say export trade facilitator. His name is Michael Liv. He owns and works for a company called 49 North Group, which is based here in New Jersey, in metropolitan New York City. Welcome all to the seminar. Just a couple of housekeeping items I'd like to take care of. Please, leave yourselves on mute during the presentations. If you have questions, you can either send them off into chat. My LEA colleague, Liva Ratsan, is in Riga. We'll be monitoring the chat box and forwarding those to us, or save them for after the presentations, and you can ask them then. Additionally, there will be a short survey at the end of Mike's presentation, at the very end of the webinar, that will be posted up there by my colleague in Riga, Liva. That survey is in Latvian, but please fill that out. That helps us greatly to improve these webinars. Please be obviously honest. If there's areas where we can improve, we always appreciate those suggestions. And with that, I'm going to hand over the presentation to my colleague Ilse Lachgalve. She has some initial thoughts and strategies, and then she will pass on the presentation baton to Uģis. So Ilse, take it away, please.
Thank you so much, Rainis, and thanks for everybody to participating and joining this webinar. It's very important for us to share some of the information, and I think you'll find it very useful. I just want to quickly go through a few things to consider prior for building export strategy. Many of you are already working in European markets, but maybe just a few points to just remind what's important to consider. So understanding your customer, of course, that's just the basics of importing and competitive landscape. And understanding who are your primary users, you already know from use of your product, and a lot of these would translate into the Canadian US markets who are primary competitors. And there's a lot of benefits today in our virtual world to be able to research things online, which is a great tool, and you can learn so much before you even start your exporting plan. Product modifications. Are there any product modifications required? Even though your product might be great in Europe, you still may have to consider the packaging, anything that is required to adjust to the local markets, language, and so on. Sorry, next slide. One of the areas that you also have to consider is marketing. What type of marketing investments you should be making when you're going to foreign markets? Would it be online marketing? Would it be using Facebook, Google, and so on? Does you already have online presence and brand recognition? This is one of the questions a lot of local companies in Canada and US would ask you. And building the presence, one way is using online presence. Have you assessed your strengths and weaknesses of your brand? Knowing that and going into the market is very critical. So it already prepares you for greater success. A lot of companies also face challenges, capacity and financing, because there is additional increase of volume that the new market will bring. And as you know, the USA and Canada are a big market, and especially United States, where it's hundreds of millions of people. And you have to account for that. And there are tools in Latvia by Altum and other programs that would help you to facilitate the potential risks and also additional resource availability. And here we go to, actually, next slide, I will stop sharing. Hold on a little minute, and I will pass it on to Uģis, who will be sharing his slides from Igloo and sharing his experience in the North American market. And it's a really great experience for you to learn from, because this is from the company who actually doing business in the region. Thank you, Uģis.
Yeah, so thank you, Ilse. I hope everybody can see my presentation. Is it fine? Great. So hello again. My name is Udis, and today I was asked to talk about our experience in the North American market and how we cope with it. Our company mainly produced only packaging material and construction materials out of foam polyethylene, but in the last 7 years, we are developing and manufacturing in-house softplay products under the brand name Igloo Softplay. And our production has gained a huge rise in demand in different markets, but especially in the North American market. So this is a small overview of my presentation. So I'll begin talking a little bit about the product. So as I mentioned, the product is made from a soft yet rigid foam core and a artificial leather cover. Our products stand out in the market due to our high quality standards as well as the materials we use, as most of our competitors use different materials of lesser quality. This is represented in our case by our pricing too. We position ourselves as the high-end spectrum of softplay production for domestic use. And we do have the product which actually represents that. Going further, I would like to talk about our consumer, which is the target audience. In our case, our target audience are females, mostly females, aged 25 to 35. This represents 80% of our target audience. And the targeted consumer of the product are children from 1 year of age up to the age of 8 to 10 years. We are working very hard to keep a wide product range to cover all the age groups and their main focus activities, which involve crawling, jumping, balancing, and so forth. And furthermore, we offer not only a wide product array, but we offer different products within one set. In our case, it's different color variations, so that every customer has the possibility to purchase the right product for him, for his house, for his interior, for his liking. Knowing your target audience is, I would say, the key to success, as when you know your target audience, you can focus your marketing activities much more precisely. And this gives you the opportunity to increase your revenue to marketing costs. In our case, we mostly use the built-in marketing apps of different online marketplaces as Amazon and Etsy, but we do use as well Facebook and Instagram marketing tools to aim our advertisements to our target audience and therefore increase traffic and the demand which goes with it. Here, in this chart, you can see our year-to-year growth in the United States and the Canada market. As you can see in the dark green line represents Canada. The Q4 of 2020 was our boost due to COVID. This was a big boost, but this shows a problem we had, which was we weren't supply enough production as the demand was very, very high. Our products are readily available in the biggest markets worldwide, starting from Europe, as it is closest to us, up to Australia, which is on the opposite side of the globe. But I will continue talking about our experience exactly with the North American market. In the chart, you can see a drop for this quarter, but this is due to the fact that the data is from a how can you say it in English properly? I don't know. Running data. So it's the actual data. We haven't yet finished the third quarter of 2022. At the moment in the North American market, we use only business to customer sales model. So which means we sell the product directly to the end customer and we ship it directly to the end customer. This we can do since we are able to control all the process involved in manufacturing a product, packing it, and shipping it. And in our case, our retail price covers all the expenses involved with this. This is a key point. For instance, if you choose your sales channels to be online marketplaces, as you make the sale, you do have to wait some time for the money to actually reach you back. So you have to manage this financing aspect as you will have frozen assets for a while. And if your demand spikes, therefore you will have larger sums of money frozen for that time period. This is a big key point which has to be addressed when you use those online marketplaces. When you use direct e-commerce like your own, for instance, Shopify store, this is a bit different since the cash flow is much quicker there. I'll continue about our experience. So the start in the North American market for us was with Amazon, which is an amazing marketplace to reach a large audience easily and quickly. As well, it has many included features or benefits you could call as marketing within Amazon, FBA, which is fulfilled by Amazon. So it's a shipping service where you ship your products to Amazon and they do the final delivery to the customer. And they do cover your product returns as well. But this comes at a cost. Amazon takes a commission from each sale, and you do have a monthly fee for your vendor account. But let me check. So yeah, as I mentioned, with all these benefits, for instance, for Amazon, you do have to keep in mind that each market and target audience have a preferred model for e-commerce. Where they shop, how they shop, and what they are actually looking for in each of these marketplaces. Because Amazon is mostly focused for general consumer goods, and it is filled with many alternatives of one kind of a product. This gives the consumer the ability to quickly compare similar products, and they can quickly choose the appropriate product for their needs or their budget. So Amazon is generally perfect for the consumer, but for the seller, it is pretty hard to stand out. And the involved Amazon policies give the consumer many advantages which aren't so good for the seller, as A to Z guarantees, free returns, and so on for a longer time period than actually required. After Amazon, we saw growth in direct sales from our own homepage. This is a good alternative, and at the moment it is pretty easy for anyone to create their own e-commerce site, since there are many online options to do it very quickly, like Shopify. In Latvia, we have Mozello, for instance. These online tools give you the opportunity to quickly create a homepage with already built-in payment methods, which take out you could say most of the headaches involved in creating your own e-commerce site from scratch. When you have your own e-commerce site, there are benefits that you are free to advertise as you see yourself. You can show your individuality. You don't have to pay commissions on sales as it is, for instance, with Amazon and Etsy. But this is, again, depending on the payment methods you use. For instance, in the North American market, if you use PayPal, you will have a commission fee for those transactions as well. What do I have here as well? And continuing with our experience, our biggest victory was with Etsy, as Etsy is mainly focused for high-end, high-quality handmade items, which our product is. And the main audience of Etsy represents our target audience. And this is, as I mentioned in the beginning, females from the age of 25 to 35. And this was easily observed as well in the chart for the United States market development. The steady rise in the chart corresponds to our Etsy store development. Etsy has other advantages over Amazon from our point of view, as reduced commission fees. There is less strictly regulated customer service options, and generally speaking, it is easier to work with, as it heavily relies not only on the consumer as Amazon does, but on the seller or manufacturer itself. I would say that one added benefit of large online marketplaces is that one thing they do is they check your products and sales amounts. Do your products have the required certifications? Maybe you have reached some country set limits for sales, from where onwards you are obliged to report in some form. But most of the marketplaces do not check, how can you say it? They don't check if your product falls in a category where it will be held up by customs and the customer has to pay import tax on this, if applicable. But this depends heavily on the product, on the HS category, you could say, in which category your product falls. In our case, with the Canadian market, it is very good that we have a free trade agreement with Canada. And in our case, we do not have any customs tax for our production, our products. But this is, again, there are still other products which can be taxed due to their specific nature, maybe alcohol or things like that. I haven't personally checked, but I know in our case that we are good with this. Speaking about the USA, I think we do not have a FTA, free trade agreement with the US, but our experience in this case is still positive, as none of our customers have complained about some unplanned expenses as import tax, etc. But again, as I mentioned, this is for our products. It heavily relies on the product being shipped. And the next point I wanted to address was the marketplace is checking goods for compliance. This was the case for Canada with us, where we had to start certification of our products according to the local, how can you say it, requirements. So we put our products up on Amazon, and Amazon requested specific certificates for specific products. And afterwards, what I did as well, they informed us that we have to register as a VAT payer in Canada. But in our case, this wasn't a big issue, as registering for this and reporting is pretty easy to do. And the Canadian authorities are very welcoming and forthcoming, and they are open to discuss any issues, any questions you have. So we always had a easy resolution for any problems or questions that we actually had. And regarding the certification, we had the same experience with Amazon US. There again, Amazon started to request certificates for different products. But regarding VAT and tax obligations, Amazon manages these for you. So on each sale made, the final customer is paying the appropriate sales tax to where the product goes. But this doesn't rely on you in the end. You just put in your final retail price minus the commission is the money you get back from Amazon. Quickly falling back to the certification, I wanted to mention that locally LEA can be a very good option for helping with certifications. As please correct me if I'm mistaken, but they do cover some costs involved regarding product certification for export markets. So there are other models where we specifically do not have the experience, but we are working at the moment in this direction as business to business. So it's either a distribution network or resellers, but this is a viable option for many, since the North American market is enormous and has many consumers. But this business model gives the opportunity for the business manufacturing the product not to deal with those specific tasks I mentioned regarding tax reports, for instance, some e-commerce site management, maybe even certification depending on the model and your reseller or your partner overseas. Let me quickly change my pages. And the business-to-business model becomes very viable if you are able to produce so much product that you are unable to sell it directly yourself, or your production capacity is much larger than the existing demand for your production. But then again, the right business model depends on the business itself. How far are you willing to go to reach the the final consumer, your customer, and to support them afterwards, and how open are you for administrative tasks as tax reports and so on. Let me check. We have, I think, come to the finish of my presentation. So this was a quick story and our experience about the North American market. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll try to answer them as precisely as I can.
You can also send your questions into chat if you don't wish to ask them now, and we can pass on to Udis and summarize them to you afterwards. So thank you so much.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. Wish you all the best of luck. Yeah.
There was one question in chat. Okay, sorry, never mind. It was a technical question. I was just reading it. Sorry about that. I'll answer it. But...
No, there is one question. Huh?
No, there isn't. No, sorry. Isn't no. Okay. Well, thank you, Uji. That was excellent. I appreciate that. Again, if anybody has questions even a little later for Ujis in the open forum, you can ask that. But
sorry, there is a question.
There are two questions at the moment.
So, what are you Ujis using as a transport for large orders to USA and Canada?
In our case, we design our products so that they can be shipped with carriers. So we do not. We try to stay away from large products, as at the moment it is very expensive to ship pallets or full-on containers. In our case, it is cheaper and quicker to use, how do you call them exactly in English, but carrier companies, as DHL, FedEx, and so on and so forth.
Okay, but there is option also to use different carriers like Latin American shipping lines, for example,
yes,
that ships
yes,
to
yes,
US,
course,
which is one of the options.
Yeah.
And if anyone needs their contacts, they also have office in Riga. Another question for Udis is, how do you attract customers to your own website in the USA?
As I mentioned in the presentation, we use mostly Facebook marketing tools as they are not very expensive, and they give you the option to precisely pick your target audience, and you can define what information or advertisement you want to show them and where you are trying to direct them. This has proven to be very effective, and we plan on keeping using these tools, at least for the moment.
Thank you so much, Uji. And I don't know, this is probably, you haven't yet fully gone into this one, how you find resellers. I think you're in a process of finding it, unless I'm mistaken.
In our case, yes, we are in the process of finding ones, and the biggest support at the moment was Leah in our case.
Thank you so much. So if anyone wants to put any more questions, we'll check them and then we can send them to you afterwards. Thank you so much for just the great answers and great presentation. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Reinis, do you want to introduce the next speaker?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to say thank you, Ilza. I missed the question, Doctor. That was my technical error there on Zoom here. I'd like to introduce Michael Liv. Michael works, he can describe what his firm does in detail, but he has long experience with working with exporters from various countries, and he's very interested in the Baltics and also Latvia very specifically. So with that, Michael Liv, please take it away.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Reinis. So first, I just wanted to thank everyone for obviously organizing and joining. And of course, the most important thing is thank you for keeping it in English, because as the old joke goes, you know, what do you call a person that speaks only one language? And the answer is American. So thank you for that. And let me share my screen here. We'll basically start. So while we set up, my name is Michael Liv, and we are 49 North Group. What that basically means is that we work with foreign companies, mainly from the European Union. We look at Eastern Europe, Central Europe. Those are the only regions that we focus on. We help them facilitate and bring their products into North American markets, sell them on both e-commerce and sell them on the retail space as well. There are benefits, obviously, to work with us. There's something that we'll cover here in the, I would say, in the webinar as far as challenges, what the e-commerce space is, what we can do, some of the things that we rely on when it comes to our partners, and basically build a long strategy. Because one of the things that we like to do is to make sure that each and every, let's say, partnership that we work with is a success case. So with that, let me give you a brief introduction on the North American market. So, of course, we are, when I say North American, I'm basically talking about US and Canada. US is a much larger operation, but I definitely want to say that one of the things we need to do is not forget our Canadian neighbors and partners. There's still a lot of volume and a lot of consumers in that country as well. The retail and e-commerce story. So in the US and Canada, it's very interesting because I would say the US is a little bit more prone to e-commerce than the Canadian market. These days, the Canadians, as you know, if we're talking about the differences, they're slightly a little bit more, I hate to use the word, but old-fashioned. So, you know, going to the actual physical, right? Physical location is still extremely, extremely important. Whereas to the US as well. I mean, don't forget, at the end of the day, retail is king. So your retail stores, your retail chains, even your known, let's say, local neighborhood brands, they're still very popular. And I would say that 70% of the gross sales are happening at retail. It could be a retail online, or it could be at the actual physical store. However, of course, with the e-commerce markets, we're definitely rising and rising fast. As U just mentioned, Amazon is by far the king here. It is the killer marketplace. Basically anything and everything that you want and you want to sell, you will find on Amazon. There's definitely some pitfalls and challenges there, but once you figure out your strategy and how to work on Amazon, you're pretty much guaranteed success to take it anywhere else. Besides Amazon, we of course know there's Etsy, there's eBay, and there are a lot of different retail-driven marketplaces. So let's not forget about Walmart. Walmart's a famous case. Well, Walmart bought a company by the name of Jet Marketplace, and turned it into their own internal marketplace. So there are a lot of differences. I would say a lot of different opportunities to look at. And one of the things that we always say is when you focus on the North American market, depending on what product you have, but in most case scenarios, you always want to start, at least to focus initially on the e-commerce, and then gradually, either we help you or someone else helps you, take you into the actual retail, physical retail space. And I'll touch base on that a little bit more as we go through the presentation. So the US and versus Canada, we just touched a little bit on, where the Canadians are a little bit more keen towards going to physical. The US buyers are definitely more, let's say, prone to innovation. So what that basically means is they're a lot more willing to try new products, which of course is great news for anyone who wants to bring their products, import their products into the North American market. As a matter of fact, one of the last research statistics that I saw pointed that about 67 or 68% of the North American consumer is willing to try, and definitely is trying, new products that they see. Obviously, it all depends on some other attributes. We look at the price, we look at the quality. In certain case scenarios, we also look at where it's made. And of course, those are the most important, I would say, characteristics. The consumer mindset. Consumer mindset here is a little bit different than in Europe. And what I'm talking about from experience. I've been lucky and you know, constantly back and forth between the two. And you know, I wouldn't say that we would like to feel to don't look at us as entitled, let's say, but definitely look at us as a little bit spoiled, right? We are the biggest consumer market in the universe at this point. And what that basically means is that we expect everything with a lot of convenience, very quick, very easy. When it comes to buying the product, especially when it comes to returning the product. Just like we just mentioned before, it could take a little bit of time, but you know, I could sit here and after about a month, I remember all of a sudden that, hey, you know what? I don't like this product. Maybe Amazon will take it. And even if Amazon doesn't take it, sometimes all it takes from a consumer is to pick up the phone and actually call Amazon and complain. And at the end of the day, the decision probably will be against the seller, and Amazon will take the product back. Not so with other marketplaces. It all depends on the scenario, but usually at your entry point, you always like to start with Amazon. And obviously the reason for that, as I said before, once you're able to figure out and focus your strategy and create a successful strategy on Amazon, you could pretty much take it anywhere else, to Walmart, to retail, to even Facebook Marketplace, and integrate that with successful online marketing through some of the search engines and social media channels that are available, such as Instagram and Google and Facebook and all that. That gives you an absolute great exposure and strategy. COVID definitely helped, of course. I mean, we are absolutely booming when it comes now to if you look at statistics for the past 2 years. I don't want to get into that. It's just going to take too much time, but I think all of us here that are on the call do understand the size of e-commerce and of course retail in North America. COVID definitely helped push that mindset towards e-commerce. And today, as we spend more time at home and at the home office, whether it's eating at home, whether it's playing at home, whether it's just working from home and doing everything from home, we not only order a lot, bringing a lot to the home, but obviously a lot more home related and home essential products as well. The consumer segmentation, when I'm talking about that, when I'm looking at geography and generation, yes, you have to look at the target audience, right? Who your target audience is. So one of the things that we always do is before we take on any partnership, we actually conduct an analysis. We conduct a pretty, I would say, extensive analysis that helps us understand what the best positioning is, where your product, let's say, would fit, what the mindset of the end buyer, meaning the consumer, is. We look at the competitive scenario, landscape scenario. What are the returns? Who's returning them? Who's buying them? What the price? What the let's say compatible price entry level is, and all that. And geography is, believe it or not, even when you're on a marketplace, not in retail. Retail is understandable, but even on a marketplace, you could have someone that comes in from New York and will focus on buying one thing at a specific price. And then you can have someone else who's logging in from Alabama and will look at a completely different product at a different price. The reason that I like to mention that is because at the end of the day, think of it as this way. The American e-commerce marketplace, and I'm not talking about only Amazon, I mean everyone, eBay, Walmart, Etsy, etc. There's definitely room for everyone. So regardless of what your product is, what your entry point price is, or at least you think that you want to come in with, etc., and so on, there's always room for another seller with the appetite that we're currently experiencing. When it comes to generation, only a few years ago, I could say that, of course, the younger generation would be a little bit more fluid, meaning they would be a little bit more cash rich, spend a lot more on e-commerce, etc. But COVID really taught us and showed us that the silver generation, the older generation, is also becoming quite active on not only on the internet but also on online marketplaces. So the penetration is just becoming bigger and bigger, and that comes from pretty much every segment of geography as well as generation. To finish off on this, the case for loyalty is, to be honest with you, there's very little loyalty when it comes to consumers' mind. Yes, of course, we all know our products. We all have our preferred brands, but that is typically secondary. Sometimes, most of the time, I would say, not all the time, but most of the time, it is secondary because consumers are very open and prone to try new innovative products, especially if they like the price. If they see something a little bit different that may appeal to them a little bit more. In the US, it is a little bit more so than in Canada. Canada, they seem to value loyalty a little bit more. In the US, not so. Hey, what could I tell you? Create your own conclusions from that, but that's just that's just the way things are. So that's always something to keep in mind, because on one end, there's always that opportunity for new exporters and new consumer products to get into the North American market. But once you're in, make sure that you keep it in mind that loyalty is key and it's secondary. Price, quality, return policy, and the way you sell it, the way you market it, whether you have accompanying videos on how to use the product, whether you have instructions, any of those tools. And there are so many of them out there that we're not even gonna get time to get into that. But you want to utilize whatever you need to. So Latvia, one of the questions that actually the organizers of this webinar asked is, maybe we could talk a little bit about Latvia. And yeah, sure, I think that's a great and valid point. So to me, for example, when I look at Latvia, the first thing that comes to mind is the European Union, right? We have a large and growing segment of the population that loves European Union products. They associate them with quality. They associate them with being sexy. Excuse me for being, upfront and honest here. And there's definitely a little bit of appreciation and respect towards something made in Europe versus made in China, which is extremely popular, unfortunately, still to this date in the US. The Baltics, when it comes to the average American, nobody knows what the Baltics are. Nobody knows what Latvia is. The only thing that you know is if you say the European Union, that rings a bell. And that, of course, is extremely important to the average American consumer. The prices naturally could be a little bit higher. That's understandable. They do come from Europe. But as long as they are within let's say, reasonable scope, I would say that you have a good penetration chance of coming in with European products because more and certain, of course, geographies, generation, and segments of the consumer market are looking at where it's made and, of course, associate that with the quality attributes that they come with. The made in China we are, I would say, a global joke when it comes to other countries. Everybody knows that America is basically running on Chinese products. And that is extremely true. It's been spilling into politics. I'm sure that many of you obviously realize and know, and it also spilled into the consumer mindset. So basically what I'd like to finish the slide with is that there's always some sort of sentiment, right? Negative sentiment and resentment when looking at what I can buy and where I can buy it from. And if I can, let's say, have an alternative good option, I will definitely consider that versus sending money to another made in China product. This is just the reality, folks. And, giving it to you from somebody who's not manufacturing their own products and not competing against anyone here. This is just behind the scenes mentality of some of the consumers that you are going to be dealing with.
Mike, I'm going to move on. Question. Maybe yes, I can interrupt you. There's one question in the chat. Sure. Maybe it's specific to that section is who will pay for analysis? I think that there are different answers to that. I'll let you tackle that one.
Yes. So there's an initial analysis that what we do is this is on us. What that means is we will cover that analysis. It's a brief market analysis that will let us understand whether this is, let's call it the phase A, right? Phase 1 analysis. And basically it would let us understand exactly how this product, let's say, would be positioned. If there's an opportunity, let's say, and if we see the green light, right, in order to work with that manufacturer to bring that product in, and of course to start creating a strategy. That is at no cost to the to our partners. If a more, I would say, exhaustive analysis is needed, when we start looking at more specific, let's say, partnership channels, whether we are going to focus on retail as well, whether it's going to be an omni-channel strategy, when it's time to look at compliance, labeling, packaging, export, certifications, et cetera, and so on. If it's not done, if you're not the one who's handling that, we will basically take it upon ourselves, and that will be a cost. There's a cost bearer to that. To be exact, it's not that much. It's less than a couple of thousand US dollars. But that basically gives you a complete and exhaustive, I would say, market analysis that would really let you understand exactly where you are, how you're positioned, what some of the things you need to focus on, and take you further.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, if there are no other questions, I'll go to the next slide. All right, so building your export strategy. Here is something that we're going to talk a little bit more about what some of the commitments are and what some of the expectations, right? As we say, what some of the asks are. So ask, what I mean by that is what we would ask from our partners, and what generally you have to think also beyond us is what your consumer will eventually ask from you, what the audience will expect and want to see. And that could be a marketplace, that could be a retailer, and that of course could be the end user, the actual buyer. So commitment, when I say commitment is a must, we always have to focus on long-term strategy. I pretty much probably don't have to say that. I think we all understand that to get into North American market, it's the most lucrative market, but you really, really want to focus on long-term commitment and understand that there are going to be challenges and pitfalls that you will encounter along the way, most likely in the initial phases. So just to stick it in there, for example, one of the big, I would say, benefits of working with 49 North Group is that, of course, we been there, done that kind of scenario. So we understand a lot of those initial and ongoing growing challenges. So that's something that, of course, we focus on ensuring that those same, let's say, pitfalls do not occur. But again, you never know what tomorrow brings. So you could mitigate, you can basically lessen the chance, but you can never eliminate anything. But think of it this way, that the commitment is very, very important. Don't think of, if I come in and for the first, let's say 2 months, 3 months, it doesn't work, that's it, I'm ready to give up. No, that's not even the case at all. You have to commit yourself to longer. Just like it was mentioned before, you have to understand that there's going to be a certain delay before you get paid, especially for marketplaces and also from the big retailers. When you get into retail, that could even be longer. Yes, there is factoring in place. That's something that we also help with if the scenario ever comes to that. But just be ready for certain challenges when you are entering the North American market, whether it's e-commerce or whether it's the retail. So the case for retail versus e-commerce, as I said before, I think that in many scenarios, especially when it comes to consumer-facing products, you probably want to consider going into e-commerce first. And the reason is very simple. Think of it from a strategic point of view. Before you walk, you have to crawl. What that simply means is that you want to start working with the D2C, with the direct-to-consumer channels first. Why? You want to build your brand in the US and Canada. You want to build your brand identity, right? You want to start showing to those actual potential, let's say, whether it's distribution or whether it's a retail partnership, that you already have a track record in North America. You already started selling. They want to look at what some of your returns on, what the price point, of course, the volume, right? How fast it moves, where it moves, what the best time to place it at, etc., and so on. So the first step in many scenarios is always e-commerce. That just basically alleviates, right? It helps you kind of glide into additional sales channels when you think about North America. Initial costs, loss, compliance, entry, packaging, intellectual property, returns. Yes, those are the everyday, I would say, headaches. For example, if we work with a client, we bear most of those headaches on us, and we deal with them. When an exporter enters direct, you have to start considering initial costs. So basically, you have to bring the product in. Whether you start selling at different marketplaces, are you bringing a lot? So because you're positive that you're going to sell it, and how much you're going to move. That actually what I'm talking about, that initial analysis, right? That usually we conduct, also gives you an idea and understanding how fast you can move it, where you can move it, and what some of additional, let's say, points of entry that you can consider selling it into. So the cost, of course, are logistics or warehousing, bringing it, shipping it direct to marketplaces, and then obviously paying that monthly fee for storage, and paying for other fees. Now, keep in mind, fellas, even when it comes to certain months of the year, I'll give you an example. From October to January, cost of Amazon storage basically triples. Why? Because it's the holidays. We're looking at Black Friday. We're looking at Christmas. We're looking at, as we say, the hottest months of the year, right? So costs, of course, also go up. Not the best time to bring in a new product into the market. That's definitely going to create a lot of headaches. Loss compliance. What I mean by loss, it could be 2 months, and somebody can call and say, I want to return the product. What are you going to do with it then? Are you going to actually repackage it? Can you repackage it? There's a certain percentage, I would say, where you have to say that you just have to give up the product. In our experience, from all the I would say partners that we work with, we factor in between 9 to 12% average between loss, between friendly fraud. That is on the high end. That is on the very, very high end. On the low and more realistical end, I would say it's really a couple of points, a couple of percentage. So it's not that high, but in certain case scenarios, depending on the product, this could actually be the case. So those are things that you always have to consider. And when you think about your internal revenue strategy, take that into consideration. Compliance, of course, labeling, packaging, the way it's done, the way it's written. Do we have the proper description? Do we have the proper clause? Even, for the U.S. especially, it's very important to have those danger. Please, we have some of the silliest clauses when it comes to mind for consumer safety, but that's something that has to accompany the product. Certifications, entry points, and so on. There's just a lot that we can go over, but we're not going to waste too much time talking about it here. Packaging also. It depends on the packaging. When you sell direct to consumer, so when you sell on marketplaces such as Etsy, you don't deal with that. But in many cases like Amazon, if you have smaller products, what they'll do is they'll tell you, hey, I don't want that box. And why are you shipping me this box? All I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in an envelope, and in that famous white envelope from Amazon, and we're just going to send it out in one of our trucks. So there are a lot of things to consider, especially on that, let's say, initial entry point. Best time to enter the market, as I said before, please do not. I know that you're very hungry and you want to make sure that you get that holiday season, right? But it's going to create a lot more headaches than actual benefits. So the best time to enter the market, I would tell you honestly, is right after the holidays, especially for new products. It will give you time to assimilate. It will give you time to set up. It will give you time to devise the strategy. and you're not going to enter into that busy, crazy cycle. And chances are some of the marketplaces will not take a new product depending on what time of the year it is. So those are pretty much some of the challenges that we covered for new exporters. You know, and again, there's obviously more. There's obviously ways to mitigate that risk when you work with someone local who understands and who can basically, let's say, hold you by the hand, guide you, and take over that, let's say, operation and manage the day-to-day aspects of your entire sales strategy in the US. Any questions before I move on to the next slide, or should I continue?
Mike, I think I'm going to allow Dina allowed to ask question. Dina, you can speak now. I unmuted you. I think you had a hand raised.
Okay, thank you. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, we are breakfast cereal and plant-based product producer from Latvia. And I have a question regarding the logistic and warehouses and the distributor rule in this in USA market. Can you comment something, because we don't have warehouses in USA and we don't have at the moment a distributor or partner. But what is the rule of distributor?
Did you say breakfast and lunch? Did I understand correctly?
Yeah, we are a food producer, actually plant-based products, which contains breakfast cereals, but very specific because they are made from gray peas, less sugar and high level inside, and a lot of innovative plant-based products, which is very trendy in the world at the moment. And we would like to cooperate with some distributor and partners in USA as well.
This is a specialty scenario where you could technically take it to marketplaces, but yes, maybe with something like that, you rather start looking at the mass retail. But in order to get in, before you do anything, you really have to start building presence at trade shows and going in front of retailers and distributors. You basically have to either think of it as a third-party sales team, right? That's something that, for example, we have an internal sales team that works on behalf of some of our customers. If the product, let's say, fits our scenario, then we take it on. But in other cases, you will have to go direct to, you're looking at organic trade shows, you're looking at natural food trade shows, et cetera, and so on, where you start engaging with the proper, let's say, buyer there. Is there a specific or proven strategy towards distribution? No. You have to do that old-fashioned legwork has to be done in order to find the right partners that pick it up and believe in the product, let's say, as much as you do. Obviously, look at how sales were done in other regions of the world and bring it in-house. But that is something that takes a little bit longer, a lot longer than obviously e-commerce market sales strategy to build, and it requires a lot more focus and, of course, probably a bigger budget here to cover. But as far as distribution, your best bet is to just start showing up to retail shows, I would say relevant retail shows and trade shows in the US, and go from there.
Okay, clear. But do we need some warehouses in USA if it will get some partner in USA?
It depends on the distributor, and it depends on the nature of the relationship. All that depends. Like, for example, we have warehouses that we offer in certain scenarios. Like, for example, a lot of times the product would just go right from the port straight into Amazon warehouse, and they will take it from there. Or if it goes into Walmart, it will go into Walmart. Depending on some of the other companies we work with, it could come to our warehouse. But based on, of course, the sales and the let's say track record, we already know when it's going to move, where it's going to move, et cetera, and so on. So we handle that logistics part. But in your scenario, as a brand new, let's say first time comer to the North American market, they will tell you what they want. It could very well be that they'll tell you that they expect you to organize your own warehousing at first as well. So it all depends on the nature of the relationship.
Okay, clear. We had a distributor partner in Canada, but at the moment not anymore, because we have problems with payments from there. And now we are looking for other ones, so maybe it's close Canada and USA, and we can build some relationship.
I'll gladly let someone in 49 in the company take a look at it if you want. Obviously, you know, I'll share contact information, and everyone who wants to get in touch are free to do so. And if there's a way that we can help, hey, that's what we're here for. So I'll gladly take a look at it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, or should I proceed?
Sorry, I'll just quickly check. Which are the best trade shows for food products?
Well, those are my favorites. So if you ask me personally, I like the ones where there are a lot of free samples, you know, so as you walk around, you can just grab as many as you want. But again, honestly, guys, it really depends on your product. We have organic shows, we have natural shows, we have restaurant shows, we have retail shows that actually combine a lot of food pavilions in there. Is there such a thing as the best and proof guarantee? Probably not. But if I can understand a little bit more about the product, then we can possibly advise and give you a better understanding of, let's say, hey, this is the 1 to 2, let's say, shows that you want to take a look at, and go from there. So it all again depends on how you break it, and what. Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry, Mike. I interrupted you.
No. That's it. That's good.
And by the way, Leah now has for Canada. There's you can apply. Go onto Leah website. You can apply to show in Canada, which is going to be taking place next May. And definitely also reach out to Rainis, and he can help you probably to find also some of the better shows which to be good for your particular business in US. One more question, Mike. Your opinion on publishing children's book series. Books are about food production, possibilities to find publishers for cooperation. Thank you.
Okay. So from experience and from what I could tell you about the North American markets, when it comes to books, especially recently, believe it or not, e-commerce marketplaces are your best and safest way to enter. It goes without question. You will find books are still widely popular, especially on using e-commerce channels. Retailers, it becomes a lot more, I would say, complex. It depends. As you probably know, let's say the era of Barnes and Nobles is not what it used to be, and you're not gonna find that anymore. And most folks really do go online for books. So whether it's a specialty book, whether it's, you know, you want to create, let's say, your own online strategy and market it online as well with those specific books, and you want to utilize e-commerce and build your own, let's say, Amazon store, etc., and so on. Even Facebook Marketplace. Those are great ways to start. As far as the phase 2, the actual distribution aspect, very hard to say. But I could tell you that from experience, I've seen a lot of success. Folks selling it directly on e-commerce, especially when it comes to books. For one reason or another, hardcover, softcover books, the old-fashioned books where you actually, you know, are able to open it, are still very popular. So yes, there's definitely a market for it, but I would honestly tell you focus on e-commerce first.
So, Reines, you want to add something? I see your hand raised.
Yes. Well, yeah, there was we got a question came in through the chat versus the Q&A box. I just wanted to, it's one of Mike's favorite topics. It comes from Ed Guts. I don't know the firm. How much do USA consumers value handmade products, specifically handmade bags? I'm assuming he means handbags or things like that. So.
Good question. And as I said before, there is a market for everything. Even if sometimes you actually think that there's no market for it, there is. Would it be a specialty market for, let's say, a house like Etsy? Yes, but do not discount any additional marketplaces. A lot of handcrafted individual pieces do sell. eBay is a very popular scenario. Facebook Marketplace is a very popular end platform, and even in some cases Amazon. The only problem that you're facing here is when you start looking at Walmart and Amazon, is the actual control and inventory management, right? Because that's something that you always have to consider. The worst thing that you can do as a seller, and for example, to explain to you the way that our relationship is, everything that sells in the US sells under your name. So we're sort of the invisible partner, right? I mean, we manage it, but we do everything behind the scenes. We're actually promoting and developing your brand, not ours. That's the end result here. But once you do take it to places like Amazon and Walmart and others, if that's, let's say, the right market for it, you will definitely have to start thinking about inventory and control and supply and demand. So that's something that I don't have an answer for right away without understanding more about the product. But I think that in your scenario, it's probably more of the specialty marketplaces and even some of the specialty stores, which I'll talk about in the next slide quickly.
Mike, sorry, one more question in a question Q&A section. Do you have any advice about working on e-commerce marketplaces for B2B like Faire.com or AnchorStore.com?
Yes. Those are the strategies a little bit different. And again, depending on what the product is, usually with a B2B, the rules are a little bit different, where you may get the initial support that you're looking for when it comes to, let's say, export and customs and all that, because you are dealing with another business entity. On the other hand, my only advice to that is read the contract at least 5 times and make sure that the attorney reads it extremely well too, because between the payment terms, between other pitfalls and all that, because you are dealing with a business entity, it can get, as we say, ugly. And that's something that you want to always make sure that you look at. As far as the marketplace, I mean, look, business marketplaces, they behave and act just like any traditional direct-to-consumer marketplace. At the end of the day, as we all remember, Alibaba is the one that set the trend. And everyone followed. One business can buy from another, and there's really no, if you have all the certifications, compliance, and everything's approved, please, by all means, go ahead. Just make sure that your contracts are set up correctly.
So there's also, sorry, go ahead, Reines.
No, just I was going to, Dina posted another question, but which I was going to get to, but I also wanted to mention to Dina, just as an aside, I know you've got some very specific questions about food importing into the United States. We have a contact here in New York. Her name's Anita Batarak. She's been actively importing food products from Latvia for a number of years. She might be somebody we can set up a call with you and her, and she can tell you about some of the ins and outs and things that have gone well. She also works for Latvian American Shipping Line as well, which can help with logistics. But Mike, Dina did have one other question here for you. Maybe you can answer it. She says, what certificates are the most important for food producers to enter the USA market? She says, we are going to get the IFS certification. Is that enough?
Honestly, I wouldn't have the answer to that, and I'll tell you why. When it comes to food, USDA here is king. and in not most, but I would just tell you in all case scenarios, you want to make sure that you work with a third party that knows USDA, understands how certification works, specifically when it comes to food products, and to make sure that there's nothing additional, let's say, that's required in your scenarios. Food is not our specialty. We deal mainly with consumer products, and I'll talk about that obviously a little bit more when it comes to about us. But USDA is an organization that you definitely want to clear it with to make sure before you even decide to bring anything into the States. And there are third parties. I believe also on the USDA website, you can even find agencies, agents and partners that they work with. They list all of them, and you can contact them for further clarification. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Yeah, Dina, we can also, there's, through Leah, we can help you with hooking up with the right kind of people or the right organizations. Mike, you mentioned about legal issues and contracts. That's always a bit of a pitfall depending on what the attorney's experience is. If any firms are looking for specific attorneys to assist them with developing export markets in the USA or Canada, and you need attorney help, we don't necessarily recommend them per se, but we can maybe provide some contacts to help you in that regard. We do have a few people that we know that are working in the space. So, and go ahead, Mike, back to you.
All right, thank you. So basically now I just want to start being a little bit more positive here, right? I mean, let's talk about some of the good things that actually what happens when you bring products into the North American market. And it does get better. The initial, let's say, timeline, once you survive that, and I promise you, if you have the right product and the right strategy, you will survive it. It gets better. It gets a lot better, and it gets better really fast. So some of the things that we offer, for example, the initial partner analysis, that's something that I already spoke about. That gives you that risk mitigation and that peace of mind that we basically provide an analysis exactly where your product fits, what the entry price is, what some of the pitfalls. We look at everything. We look at compliance. We look at legal. We look at how it's made, where it's going to go, some of the best channels. And we're already thinking, I would say, beyond that initial e-commerce strategy and what possible retail partners we can start introducing it to, and how fast we can get you into additional retail channels. The omni-channel strategy, that's something that maybe some of you are not familiar with, but I want to make sure that you understand. That's from a corporate standpoint. So when I'm talking about an omni-channel strategy on retail and retail online, what I mean by that is, hey, let's take a look at not somebody like Home Depot or Walmart, obviously not the biggest ones, but let's take a look at a mid-market. Like, for example, if it's a hardware store, Orgill, that has about 1,000 locations across maybe 5, 6, 7 states, what we call a mid-market. What do I mean by that? Chances are that even those guys, the mid-market sellers and the mid-market retailers, have separate teams and have separate strategies on what they sell online versus what they sell in the actual store. And what I mean by that is online, it goes across the country and it could go across the world. So the products would be probably different. The approach would be different than it is at the physical locations, which is pretty much depending on the community where you are and what the exact customer needs are. So when you're thinking about starting on an e-commerce strategy, one of the benefits I would say that working with us is we also right away look at what retailers we can possibly push this product when it comes to their online sales as well. Most of the big ones and most of the mid-market brands have separate teams that focus online and focus on the actual physical sales. That's something very important to keep in mind. And the decision-making capabilities are completely autonomous, completely independent from one another. Marketplace support, of course, the entire structure and support of once you bring in your product and you decide to sell it on one or more marketplaces. that basically beginning to end support, managing it, organizing it, providing you with the sales, with the marketing tools, and basically just helping you promote it as much as possible in order to generate sales. Look, our pricing structure works very simple. We make money when you make money. That's our way. We collect commissions. We are agents. And I'll talk about that just a little bit more. We don't buy direct from you. We're not resellers. We're not distributors. And we're not interested in taking 40% of your profit. We work on very tight margins, but we basically ensure that you sell more, because the more you sell, the more we also generate. And that, of course, goes with the ongoing product brand development, operational, and expansion support, as well as you start growing. And again, the benefits from day one, I mean, think about when you have questions about your entry strategy, your storage, if I need storage or if I not, how's the payment, banking, legal structure works, if you need to set one up, compliance when it comes to actual certification and other requirements, and of course the sales and marketing. To finish it off, why us? So what does an agency relationship mean? So basically, as an agency, we collect a very small percentage. It's usually starts at about, the highest is around 15-16% based on your sales, and it starts going down based, of course, on your volume. For all that, for that percentage, we do everything that we discussed, and everyone who's interested, of course, I could send them more, let's say, in insightful deck that will explain a lot more on the relationship. But that's basically what an agency relationship means. We're not prepaying, we're not pre-buying. We can give certain guarantees if we start shipping a lot of products, such as letter of credit or other things, obviously in order to make sure that everyone sleeps safe and secure. But at the end of the day, we represent you across the entire spectrum. And when you start selling, we start generating commissions from those sales as well. What do I mean by our promise every partnership is a success case? We have plenty of opportunities to sell something where we decided not to engage. It could be a one reason or another. Maybe it's just not our space, or sometimes it's just something that we saw that, you know what, we're not going to be able to do much with it. So if we're not going to be able to do much with it, we'll just tell you that instead of creating false, let's say, anticipation and hopes, and start building that relationship, because based on experience, we already pretty much understand. When it comes to consumer products, what are we talking about? We look at consumer products, and our favorite products are, and again, this is all in the bigger deck. This is just not to waste too much time right now. I'm going to skim through this. Clothing, believe it or not, I know that clothing sometimes is a mess, but huge, very popular across marketplaces. Americans and Canadians love buying clothing on e-commerce, especially Americans. Anything for the house, anything for the kitchen, anything for the living room, anything for the bathroom. It could be from tiles, even, believe it or not. It could be construction grade material. I mean, what have you? People buy everything from Amazon, furniture, knife sets, and plates and forks, cups. God, I mean, whatever you think of, electrical for the house, plumbing, all that. Yes, it's all online, and it's all widely popular. Pets. Pets, what I mean by is dogs, cats, birds. We are a very, very big, loving animal country, not both US and Canada. So anything for our pets. Sometimes a lot of us treats our pets better than we treat our own kids, and we buy more for our pets versus our kids. So believe it or not, it's a huge market that you don't want to miss. If you're dealing with anything in pets, if it's on the non-perishable side, meaning if it's toys, if it's product, if it's chews, if anything like that, we'll gladly take a look at that. And again, it could be seasonal products too. It could be something for summer. It could be something for winter. It could be for the holidays, so on and so forth. That specific scenario, when it comes to seasonal products, believe it or not, sometimes it's easier to get you into retail direct before it goes into marketplace, because a lot of the retail stores are looking for special seasonal opportunities. It could be Christmas, it could be any of the summer holidays, depending, of course, on what the product category is and how it fits. And based on that, we make the determination and start reaching out to our retail contacts, and very possible get you into that season to make sure that your products are visible and selling as well. Average annual sales volume and split percentage. So we have dozens of companies we work with across countries in Eastern Europe and a few in Western Europe, Central Europe, of course, as well. Our average per product, before we also, by the way, ink any contracts, we send out our financial statements as well. So, I mean, everything is pretty much there. We work very transparent and very clear on what 49 North Group does and what the expectations are. So per product, we usually see average sales of around 30 to 35,000 USD gross per month. Per company, we see that closer to 100,000 because it depends on, they could have a few products. Depending on the product, we position them in multiple sales channels right away, and so on and so forth. So based on product, it's around 35. So think of it as anywhere between 350 to 500,000 per product gross volume on the product side, and usually a million or a little bit over $1 million starting on the company side. Of course, there could be higher scenarios. Some of our most famous products, we, for example, have a couple of cosmetics related products that come in from France. And again, the Americans, of course, love anything that has to do with cosmetics in France. But at the end of the day, those generate just by themselves, a single product generates a little bit of right around 1.8 million for the year. And that's just on one product. So there are different scenarios, there are different cases. But the one thing that I want to make sure that you understand, and I promise you that if we look at a product and if we take you on, we have the full expectation of bringing you to that, let's say, $500,000 mark pretty fast. If we don't take you on, that's because we simply don't see it. But if we do take you on, those are numbers that we realistically expect to achieve and obviously grow from there. That's the average case scenario.
Thank you, Mike. Sorry,
yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were finished, but no, please go ahead.
I'm pretty much done here. I'm running out of breath here. The omni-channel support and presentation is, one more time, we go across e-commerce and across retail sales. We prefer to start with e-commerce to build up that, let's say, anticipation, understand what the demand is, and then we look at retail as well. That's pretty much it, folks. I'm done.
There's one question still, and thank you,
yeah.
Mike. Hello, does establishing a company in the US have advantages? Which ones? How to choose someone for administrators, accounting, finance?
Yeah. Good question. So if you will go to our website, we cover that in more detail there. We do provide support services. If you're interested, think of 49 North Group as your partner in the US, right? As sort of like your second company in the US. Whether you need sales, we'll establish you with a sales team. Marketing, we have editors, we have copywriters, and we have marketers that do all that for our products, and pretty much anything else you need, whether it's logistics, banking support, payments, etc. Do you need a company? It depends what your strategy is. Some of our larger partners that generate a little bit more in annual sales than, the standard, do prefer sometimes to set up their own companies, but it purely depends on what their case scenario is. Whether it's, obviously everything has to do with long-term growth, but at the end of the day, don't look at it from a taxes or from VAT perspective or anything else, because that all works itself out. But mainly focus on the growth strategy. Eventually, do you think that you're going to get to the point of where you want to have an office here and you want to have your own people actually representing you? That is really, I would say, the one thing that comes to mind. Besides that, without understanding more about what your specific product and strategy is, there's no clear way of, let's say, addressing it at this point.
Thank you, Mike, and I'll pass it to Rainis, but I just want to mention from Leah perspective, it's really up to you individual companies to decide which partners you choose to work with in the United States. And Mike and his company is one of the options that you could work with. So it's really up to you to choose the partners in the North America. And I'll pass it to Rainis if he wants to have a closing remarks. But we also received some questions. I don't know, Mike, if we want to go through some of those, but we're also going to send you, I know some of you ask what are the import-export details. It's very specific to food, how to open VAT account. That's again specific, and there's a links a lot available for it. I think it probably, we answered a lot of questions as we went on. But if you have any questions, please send it to us. And we'll also just send you answers on those questions because we're kind of running out of time. And it would be important that we also conscious of Mike's and Ujis's time. Rainis, would you like to say anything or?
Yeah, no, yeah, well, it helps if I'm unmuted. Anyways, well, I just want to say thank you, Mike. It was a great presentation. Thank you, Ujis, as well. It was very, very, very good presentation. Thank you also, participants, for your questions and your involvement. That always makes for a more lively discussion and more productive for you. It's likely you'll have other questions as you maybe digest the seminar or watch it again. It is being recorded, so it will be available on the LEA website. So you can watch it again or pass it on to colleagues, etc., or others who aren't here who you know might have an interest. So please do that. Again, don't forget to fill out the survey at the end, which will come right after we wrap up here. There are some, the questions that came up at the end. This is only my personal just note about incorporating in the United States and establishing a USA company. That's not a step to, or for that matter, Canada. That's not a step to be taken lightly. There are costs, there are issues involved. There's also how you structure it, how you get it there, and with tax issues and also legality and whatever. So obviously, Mike's group has a lot of experience in that regard. But it's also important to get proper legal advice as well. So that's good. So. Anyways, that's it. Thank you again. Please don't hesitate to reach out for myself or Ilse or our colleagues in Riga for assistance or with questions. There are a number of programs, or a number of new programs coming out, and also financing options through Altum, which is our sister agency within the Latvian government that provide support. So please visit our websites. Call in, write us, let us know, and we'll do our best to beaver through everything and get you the answers, or at least point you in the right direction to help you out. So.
Thank you, Rainis. And I'm just going to add to your point is that what's important is like what we just mentioned, the certification support, marketing support, export support programs through LEA and Altum. Please make sure that because US and Canada is part of OECD countries, they allow also to extend the guarantees into those countries. So when you're planning for your export strategy, make sure that you consider the financing and capacity, which you have a lot of support also for marketing from our country institutions and organizations. Thank you so much. I guess, thank you for participation. Yes. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you, everyone, for your time. We know everyone is busy, and it's also a bit late in the day in Latvia. So, again, thank you very much for attending. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.